Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this casted showdown here in Company of Heroes 3. It's going to be myself on the American forces facing off against the Wehrmacht, and we're actually both going to be going Airborne, so they have their version of the Airborne, and so do I. Now, this game was insane. Lots of back and forth. The ending was absolutely ludicrous, so you guys fasten them seatbelts and get ready for a party. For the opening, we're going to be going with triple Pathfinder. Pathfinders are hands down one of the better units, honestly, on the US forces. They're just crazy good utility in the early game, and honestly scale very well into the late game, so I'll go ahead and break down why. Firstly, they get all these abilities with the upgrade. So you get the Recon Flare, which allows you to scout ahead, find machine gun positions, see their emplacements if you're going to be calling in any sort of artillery or airstrikes. It's just super good. On top of that, they come with the rifle grenade. So having these early on is nice. If you see somebody moving into a building and they have the animation of as they're running into the building and you can time it properly, even at the higher levels, I've seen people do pretty well with these. And just having the utility of having a grenade right away is really good. On top of that, you get smoke. Smoke, of course, causes no ammunition, costs no ammunition, and you can use this to obstruct machine guns, to stall and buy time. So, for example, let's say they have a big Panzer nearby. You can throw the smoke on an objective and just capture it, and the Panzer won't be able to shoot the units on the objective. So, certainly does some good work for you. So you can see we're going to be opening up with the triple Pathfinder here. In the meantime, my opponent is going to be doing the Wehrmacht Airborne equivalent. So he's got his basic Pioneers, which are just kind of the standard rank and file Pioneers, but he does also have these special Airborne variants, which are the Fallschirm Pioneer. Now, in the previous patch, this build was really strong. They're able to get the flak emplacements very early. It has been nerfed, but it's still one of the better ways to play them as far as what I've seen. I played quite a few games lately, and all the games against the Wehrmacht where they go with this battle group have hands down been the hardest. I believe it's the Luftwaffe battle group, whereas the other ones are certainly not as strong in my opinion, but they can, of course, do work. Now, we do have Pathfinders moving up, going to be immediately going for the barracks and pumping out a couple rifles. American rifles are great. Once you get the Chevron upgrade, you get the pour it on them. They basically get a machine gun ability, and obviously with the Browning upgrade timing, having 3 or 4 rifles out on the battlefield and getting this timing upgrade of the Brownings is crazy. You just get a huge power spike. Now, my opponent gets a very early MG, so he does have an MG42 up here, securing his high ground position while his Pioneers and Fallschirms do move up the top side of the map. So pretty much similar openings. You can see I've taken a little bit more ground than him. The Pathfinders are very quick at capturing and moving along, but it's going to be equalizing here as he is going to be pressing up on the top side of the map, whereas my Pathfinders are grabbing what they can in the middle. It's one of my favorite tactics. I highly recommend it. If you guys are playing Airborne, or you have an infantry unit that's very independent or sneaky or has like smoke, sending it into your opponent's back lines and just cutting right through. So I saw machine gun pressure coming in. He had an MG set up. He was already suppressing me and doing some work. So from here, I just kind of run past him, and if he wants to come after me, he's going to have to, his basic Pioneers won't be able to beat the Pathfinders most likely, and I can also use smoke to just kind of obstruct him, and on the bottom side, using my numbers to take points, because obviously he's got more of a static kind of playstyle here with the machine gun, so I'm going to be able to kind of swarm, but he's going to be better at positional fighting. This machine gun is going to give him a lot of leverage, so just trying to buy time and stall. I don't want him to get to my back fuel, right? So these 3 points at the back are very vulnerable. But again, we're getting a good shutdown here, and this is going to be extremely annoying for my opponent, I would imagine. On the bottom side, like I said, continuing to take resources. We're splitting the map more or less right down the middle. These rifles going to be trying to hold. Here they are in their defenses, fighting against the flamethrower. So it looks like he did upgrade one of his basic Pioneers with the flamethrower upgrade. Typically, you'll see the Fallschirm Pioneers get upgraded with the light machine gun sometimes, but really the grenade launchers are the ones I've been encountering the most. And considering, most American players who, Airborne is hands down the meta for the Americans, right? So getting the grenade launchers to try and counter their massive swaths of infantry, I do think is a very strong play here. So I saw his MG. I was just kind of hiding behind this building, bouncing back and forth, and he's trying to get a line on me here. He could perhaps jump into this house, but on the backside, the Pathfinder's doing the MLG plays. We're basically just jacking the fuel where we can. But he's doing a good job with his MG. He's just kind of catching me. He's got me in a straight lane right here, so I do try and jump back over the wall. You can see my boys trying to climb around. But overall, it's a little bit tough. A couple rifles, Pathfinders are up. Haven't gotten to my motor pool yet, but I have been kind of experimenting with the motor pool a little bit. And once again, using the Pathfinders to kind of bully these infantry and push into his backfield and just take his fuel. So this is going to slow him down quite a bit. Because the problem is if you don't slow down the fuel for the Wehrmacht, they have some of the really strong. I mean, they have good armored cars, they have the Panzers, they have the Whirlwinds, they have all sorts of just scary stuff that can really mow down your infantry. So I'm needing to kind of control that here. So we do drop some smoke. Going to be running into the smoke to hide, so this is kind of what I was talking about here. So he's not going to be able to shoot me while I do this, and we finish the capture, and then we just kind of run away at that point. So pulling back as he does get his MGs and moves those over, and is able to cut me off a little bit, might be able to get a couple models on the retreat, we'll have to see. So rifles and Pathfinders on the way, but we've really taken a massive advantage on the map, and that, in my opinion, is really the most effective way to play the Americans. I've had a lot of games where I have good map control across the entire map, but I still find a way to lose because of the late game power of the Wehrmacht and Afrika Korps to a lesser extent. But even still, you really got to get that early map control if you're investing in this many infantry. Pathfinders, are okay in combat, but if you compare them to like Panzer Grenadiers, things like that, they can fall off, comparatively speaking. So once again, smoke here, right? So we use the smoke, we obstruct these machine guns. Machine guns were trying to line of sight us, and he did attack move, and that's why he ended up getting so close here. So we're just chilling. Smoke's obstructing them. They're not able to shoot, which is great. And we're just buying a little bit of time, denying them as much fuel as we possibly can while we take more control over the entire map here. Rifleman moving into the backfield. He's going to be dropping in some more of his own units. Now, I believe he starts to drop in the elite anti-infantry variants of his... it's basically his paratrooper squads. They're more or less the exact same thing. And he's going to be dropping those in. I do forget to withdraw these guys and they get pounded by the machine guns, but we're also going to be taking this point, though he did ninja us in the back, and I never got an opportunity to grab that back. Here you can see the captain's retinue is out, so I did go with the infantry support center. Infantry support center is certainly not bad. It has this upgrade, survival training, which increases the health of all of your entities by 10. So basically all of your riflemen are going to be getting, like 60 more HP, which is pretty good. If you look at the overall health of a unit, you can see that, where is that hockey right there? Yeah, you can see. That's a pretty substantial increase. So getting the captain's trying to push over the wall here. He does have me lined up down the street here with the Fallschmier Pioneer squad, and he did drop in his elite boys, and now is starting to get some flamethrowers, and I believe grenade launchers are coming relatively soon. Pathfinder still jacking the top, but I do need to get this back. I have the 2-to-1 cap on him, but I have not gotten too many of his victory tickets yet, and overall this is still a very, very close game. He's starting to get some momentum back, and as he gets more tech, most games with the US forces are like this. Like, you're usually very dominant early on with Pathfinders, but once like a big scary armor piece comes out, like an armored car or some sort of a light vehicle that can bully your infantry, that's when everything changes. And that's certainly the hardest part about playing them, is adjusting and preparing for that. So in the middle, he's got a nice little goon squad. He's got his rifles as well as some flamethrowers moving, and my poor Pathfinder's trying to flee the scene. Do get the motor pool out. Going to be trying it. I have been lately skipping the motor pool and just going straight to Shermans, but I wanted to give it a try. Try some armored cars, maybe get Chaffies depending on what he gets, and it's fun to experiment every now and then, not just do the same thing every time, right? Yeah, he starts to take some decent control for himself. He's got a lot of troops on the field. He's certainly matching my numbers. He does also have the advantage of having an MG, so his MG is going to be able to cause me some strife, that's for sure. Pathfinders 3v1 right here. My opponent gets a nice flank, and I got rifles collapsing and Pathfinders, and we do have the bar upgrades now, so you can see the icon underneath. Basically, all your riflemen get the base bar upgrade, and then you can get an additional M1918 Browning rifle. So you can further augment your squad past that if you have extra munitions, which it's a good munitions dump for sure. But his flamethrower is certainly helping to control. You can see you get some nice shots here on my Pathfinders, and we are trying to get some good cover here. You can see the cover quality here is green, whereas over here it's yellow, so if you're right up against the wall, should be able to do some work. Unfortunately, the little bit of smoke here, I think that was from my Pathfinders earlier, is obstructing my machine guns. That felt pretty bad. MG here, really, really nice position from him. He knows I'm going to be streaming reinforcements, and this is the logical flanking path right here to come like up and around and get behind him here. So he cuts me off, and I have to say, my opponent's positional play this game was very, very good in many regards. That was an incredibly nice machine gun position, which is buying time. Overall, though, the Brownings are pretty strong, and I do have the numerical advantage despite one of my rifles getting cut off here, and this is a big power timing for us. We're really, really able to bully a lot of his units, but I would imagine he's going to have his counterplay, right? So he's got the infantry company and the Luftwaffe company here. So here he can start to get some a little bit of armor that can be problematic for me, and we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Pathfinder's recapturing here as far as my golden motor pool goes. And it looks like there is going to be a Greyhound coming out soon. So the Greyhound has been put in, and I've been wanting to try this more and more. The Greyhound's pretty good against infantry and also has some capabilities against light vehicles. It's not like insanely good, but overall, you got to try things out. You got to learn. Looking back at his spot, he does have the Flak 30 anti-aircraft, and this thing is really, really good against what I'm doing. It basically just pounds infantry. And of course, it's decent against airborne as well. If I'm trying to drop things in, it can shoot down the planes, but for the most part, its prowess really comes from its anti-infantry capabilities. And honestly, it's pretty hard to stop. These things are tough. So I do get a recon flare. I'm able to kind of see what he's doing over here, but now he's got that flat cannon out, and it's going to be very tough to push his position. So he decided to go with kind of the static, not static, but semi-mobile emplacements, as opposed to doing like an armored car, which is something that I've experienced quite a bit. Here you can see my rifles are going to be battling his Fallschmier Pioneers. I should have a pretty decisive victory here, as I do have the automatic rifles, and it's going to be tough. So we have the 2 cap on him right now. We have the map control. As far as fuel goes, I have my 3 back fuel, and I do have the neutral fuel as well, so I have a slight advantage in that regard. For the tech, we do get the old Greyhound coming out, so the Greyhound doesn't have the 50 cal yet, but just using it to kind of sweep his backfield and further control this weak side here. But this is when I was starting to sweat bullets a little bit. Every time I moved up or tried to flank, he had good machine gun positioning. He was really, really good with his emplacements, and was perpetually just getting my guys back here. So you can see these rifles are hustling back. In the meantime, we do have our armored car, which is doing okay. You can see it pushes back his flamethrowers and lets me take his forward ammunition node, and also is able to route those machine guns, which were coming to head me off here. So far so good. Armored car, not doing a ton of damage, but it is fulfilling a little bit of a utility role as it pertains to pushing my opponent back. So he's in my field once again, and we are going to be kind of sending the rifles back up to the old battlefield once more into the breach, my dear friend, as we do pull back this way, and the armored car is doing some pretty good work here against the Fallschmiers. But yeah, the flak cannons are pretty good against light vehicles too. Like, I thought that I would be able to bully this thing, but then I had a flashback of when one of those flak cannons killed my it's either a Stuart tank or a Hummer with the British, I can't recall. So anti-tank gun is out. He's obviously expecting a little bit of armor, so he is going to be bringing out the anti-tank gun. I did have some rifles sitting nearby, which are going to be ambushing this anti-tank piece, trying to take it down here. So he does stop, and I believe a grenade's coming in, but he does rip a nice shot to the side of the Greyhound. Grenade going down right there, and we're trying to get it. What I really wanted to do was destroy it and then steal it, but he is going to be able to push me off and reman the weapon. So unfortunately, my ultimate scheme did not work out, but we'll get there eventually. Rifles and Pathfinders on the top side moving, and some tattered riflemen on the top are going to be grabbing the point while we collapse southward with most of our forces. And really, we don't necessarily have to overextend ourselves into a static emplacements. If we could just maintain 2 of the points, that's going to be the sweet spot, right? But overall, very pitched fight so far. Greyhound armored cars back up in the base, and I'm going to be building an engineer. I figure you should always have one once you get into armor to be able to repair your vehicles. Otherwise, it's just so slow going, and they're pretty much going to be out of commission. So we got the capture here. He's got a lot of static emplacements, which is kind of strangleholding me on the map. He's got the flat cannon here. You can see the radius of the flat cannon. He has the MG right here, and I'm having a little bit of trouble advancing. Granted, I still do have more space than him. And here we're going to be parking some Pathfinders. Pathfinder's going to be chilling in cover here and just guarding this, while we do push back these guys in the old middle of the map. And looks like the flat cannon's going to be moving up, maybe perhaps looking to get up on my objective, but no, he does get that nice side emplacement here, knowing I have a lot of infantry and is going to be forcing an immediate rout. I know if I don't run, those guys are going to get pounded, and we run up into the north, which he'll probably anticipate, but his flat cannon is going to be moving up with the machine gun and starting to cut off the avenues with which I can work. So I saw the flat cannon, I saw the machine gun going this way. In my brain, I was like, let's go to his objective now. Just either that or swarm up and around the top and see if we can flank him. But he, like I said, is very good with positioning these emplacements. He anticipates it, he sets up, and he did have the MG covering the street, so he just totally read me like a book and saw that coming. I figured I would be able to get a bit of a good flank here, but now we're going to try a really weird gambit, pair drop reinforcement. So you can reinforce units here, and you can see they're getting healed while they're being suppressed. So I was like, okay, now that I'm in a bad situation, let's go ahead and use the paradrop loiter. So it's dropping in reinforcements, which is going to be mitigating some of the casualties. We get the Greyhound armored car coming up from behind, engineers supporting, and also we are flanking on the bottom side. So riflemen coming in here, trying to get to his flat cannon here, which is just pinning me down. And still getting a lot of reinforcements, but at the end of the day, I end up just retreating. It was a fun, cheeky little strategy, and that ability is actually really good, the paradrop reinforcements. If you have a big blob fight and you're not suppressed and being punished, you can use it and just get massive healing and take over just huge parts of the map. But overall, he was too entrenched. His flat cannon was here. He had an anti-tank gun to fend off my Greyhound. He had a lot of reinforcements, and that was a losing fight. He won that fight pretty decisively and was also able to get a decap down here with some of his engineers. Thankfully, the Greyhound did live, though. You can see my loiter still flying overhead. That plane flying in circles is what is dropping in the reinforcements. And I don't know why his flat cannon... Oh, he moved his flat cannon. Okay, so he moved that bad boy. That's why it's not shooting. Nonetheless, Pathfinders fending off the Fallschmier Pioneer. Pretty good trade for these guys. They do have the passive healing, so these guys are pretty neat. They heal over time, and so if they take a little bit of damage and you're careful not to lose too many models, they can be quite independent, but even still, they're not indestructible by any stretch of the imagination. And now we have a tank depot coming up, so needing to get some of those big tanks out. It's getting to that point in the battle where, of course, light vehicles and infantry can do something, but having a Sherman tank to flank and really hammer positions, I think, is going to be a little bit more effective. So as far as the points go, 395 for myself, 417 for him, so he's a little bit ahead on points. How it works in this game is if you control more of the objectives than your opponent, then their victory tickets will essentially be going downward. They'll be ticking down. Here he's got his engineers, all of whom have earned a couple chevrons. Going to be moving up with my 2 rifle squads, which have been dominating most of their fights, and I don't think I've lost too much this game. I think I had 1 squad get completely wiped. As far as his emplacements go, so he's got an anti-tank emplacement and the flak emplacement. That's pretty much all he has as it pertains to his big heavy hitting. But now we do get a Stug assault tank out, and these things are really nasty. This thing is pretty good against vehicles, so if I come out with the Sherman, they actually are capable of going toe-to-toe with the Sherman, even though it's kind of a little bit of an earlier tank, and their anti-infantry capabilities are pretty subpar, and they don't turn their turrets super effectively. Obviously, they have to kind of turn the whole tank. So you can outmaneuver them with Shermans, but yeah, you got to watch out for these. Really good entrenchment tanks, especially considering his entire army is basically engineers, which can heal, so it's quite good. So here we do a little bit of a recon loiter, trying to see what he's up to, and we're going to be coming in for a flank. So Pathfinders and machine guns are coming. In the meantime, we're going to be flanking from the bottom, so these guys coming all the way up and under, and I've just been trying to catch his little emplacements, man. But he's got MGs, he's got flat cannons, a lot of suppression. It is just ugly, man. It is so ugly. But moving up on the back, on the top side, unfortunately, he does get me. So the assault tank did find my Greyhound. It felt pretty bad. I do lay a landmine right here, and then I pull back. And we do flank, so we get a little bit of a cute flank here. Grenade going down, and that's going to be right on the head of those MGs right there. That's going to do some fat damage. It won't wipe them out, but still does get us a little bit of veterancy. And another rifle squad's going to be on its way in, but unfortunately that damn machine gun survives. And we drop another one just for good measure, and it looks like this is going to get the wipe. So we finally get the wipe on those guys, but it does probably cost us a rifle, but it looks like the rifle is going to get away. So he is going to be able to reinforce. And the recon loiter, quite good. It's the Grasshopper recon loiter. You just kind of pop this and it allows you to kind of see what's going on in the area. His Stug 3 assault tank is going to be heading down to the south, and now he's got the 2 cap on me, so the victory tickets are going to be going downward. We're basically just saving up for Sherman while a lot of our units just had to retreat, and he's got battlefield control once again. He's looking pretty comfortable. His machine gun going to be rerouting up to the top side perhaps. It looks like he's remanning it. So obviously the weapon drops, and if I don't steal it, he's going to be able to get it back. You can destroy fallen weapons, but under the circumstances I was in, I didn't really have the tools to do that. Looks like there is also another, some sort of a, yeah, there's a weapon here. It looks like some sort of a platform weapon or something. Not sure what that is. In the backside, trying to be cheeky, I had some engineers up here laying more landmines, so just trying to be a little bit of a troll, but he does catch me, and these guys are just going to be retreating. But that was a mistake. I should have just ran them up around the top of the map instead of doing that. Sometimes when you auto-retreat, they take the most direct route home. So if my opponent had some mobility, for example, he would probably be able to take these guys down, and I would be paying the troll toll. Now, this is why smoke is also so good, right? Dropping smoke right here on this objective is going to be obstructing his shooting, so if he had a machine gun there, he's got a tank, right? He's not going to be able to shoot me, and I'm getting that capture. Looks like he's going to be doing an airborne drop, or no, that's my airborne drop. That is the anti-tank gun, so I'm like, okay, I need a little bit of anti-armor, and that's another reason why airborne is so good. Like, M1 57mm, like, anti-tank guns are great. They're good at all points in the game. You could just keep dropping those down, and honestly, you don't even need to necessarily get American armor if you're going to be doing that. You could just do, like, infantry with anti-tank guns and other utility pieces, and it can work. Granted, I'm a big Sherman enjoyer. I really, really like using the Sherman. So we drop another smoke here. I had another guy, so we just double smoke him so he can't shoot us, and we do get the double cap. On the backside, I go for a ninja. I do get some special agent rifles, which do sneak into the backfield, but he is able to relocate his machine guns. Also getting his flak anti-air gun up here, and he responds very, very well to these threats and is able to get those gun platforms online. Nice ninja by him, too. I didn't have anything guarding this. Probably should have left a rifle up there. He does get his Fallschmier Pioneer, and they are able to roll up and take this, so overall a little bit scary. Going to be trying to take some resources on the bottom side, and Rifle's going to be heading back up towards the top objective to grab that where I can. But we do get the successful ninja here, so overall I would call this a bit of a win. We get the triple cap on him temporarily, so it's going to be a little bit harder for him to get that battlefield agency back. We get the anti-tank gun more or less in position. It should be a little bit higher up here so I can actually hammer his tanks, and we do steal some resources on the bottom, so that was good, and I'm just hanging for as long as I can, and we're going to be taking some casualties on the retreat, but yes, the Stug here is going to be putting a little bit of a hurt fire on them as they do run. So top objective belongs to him, but the rifles will absolutely bully his engineer units. So he should be able to get that back, but you know, he can always press up, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. So his assault gun here is on the way. He does have, yeah, so this is an anti-tank gun team. Okay, interesting. I didn't notice this thing earlier, but yeah, he's got a lot of anti-armor kind of preemptively loaded. Here, Pathfinder's trying to ninja this, but we are kind of suppressed and pinned down, so going to be forced back, and now there will be a situation where I need to try and hold here if I can. So rifle's on the way up, and I believe a Shermanator's on the way. I used to like the Hellcats, but I just think Sherman tanks are so much better. I don't really see the purpose. Like the Hellcats, I guess they're a little bit cheaper, so maybe that would be like if you're in a really urgent situation, the Hellcat could be viable, but Sherman tanks do well enough against armor, and I don't know, the Hellcats just seem so one-dimensional compared to what the Shermans are able to do on the battlefield. So rifles are pinned down here, he's got his tank, and now, guys, we are getting a big rocket strike. You can see the planes coming from on the map. So this was a big battle going down on this side, but we used our bombardment, and boom, here comes the big American rockets. Another one's going to be coming in, and it pounds that assault tank down. And God, that felt good. Oh my God, that thing was just tormenting me for so long. We do also fend him off here. Now, he does have a Flak Panzer, which is an amazing anti-infantry tool. It's pretty darn good against my army. Granted, the Sherman tank is going to be very solid against it as well, but the Sherman is going to be vulnerable against his anti-tank parameter. So just chasing here, trying to get a wipe on his machine guns and potentially steal them. But yeah, taking that down with the rocket strike was good. That was the dual P-47 rocket strike, which if your opponent's in a narrow lane where they can't really like turn sideways and run, it's quite good. And we do also get the Flak Panzer down with our M1 anti-tank gun. So a lot of things going quite well, right? Like you guys watching, you're probably thinking to yourselves right now, like, oh, this game's over. Turin just killed his tank and killed his other Flak Panzer, which is very expensive. I flanked his anti-aircraft emplacement. Like a lot of things are going very well, right? But man, I gotta tell you guys, this game is far from over. And no spoilers, but it is far from over. So we back up the Sherman tank, gonna be retreating, getting some heals, and it looks like he's gonna be doing a little bit of a pair drop behind me to try and take down my anti-tank gun while I push up. And I do try and get very greedy here and take his flak emplacement. So my Pathfinders and rifles, we get up, and I'm gonna be trying desperately to grab this, so I do throw a grenade here. I thought he was gonna try and reman it, but he didn't. But again, we do try and grab it here. The boys are gonna be trying to jack it. It's a hard thing to drag away, but we're trying our best. Sadly, we do get pinned down by his bunker emplacement of the base, which kind of screws that up, and our grand plan was foiled, and it looks like he is going to be able to kind of hold here. So he gets his anti-tank gun in position. He does also have his other one, so he's got 2 anti-tank gun emplacements, and here the old Sherman tank able to get some nice shots because he was facing the wrong way, but we're going to be taking a big old head-on shot here, so backing up, and my engineers should be nearby. I'm not sure where they are. Do I have any? I think I was building some. The other engineers did pay the price. On the top side, riflemen and Pathfinders moving towards his back objective. My opponent just kind of slow squeezing me here, getting his engineers moving up, which he doesn't have the grenade launchers yet, thankfully for me. And of course, you can see I am favored in the infantry fights, and we are able to push back the anti-tank gun, throwing a grenade on that bad boy, but well played. He was able to dodge that. Very, very smooth stuff from my opponent there. On the top side, he doesn't have a whole lot. Moving out with his engineers. I mean, of course, he does have his flak gun that he's most likely going to be getting back online here. The Sherman tank is back at the base, going to be getting repaired while I send more rifles out, and we will be getting a second Sherman tank relatively soon. And now we're starting to take the momentum of the game once more. The top side's coming under our control. We got landmines securing this in case he tries to take it. We do have that rock hard double cap here, and a lot of his manpower is bleeding, and these units are indeed forced to run, but he does still have his emplacements. He gets both of them back. And he does have a Panzer coming out. So I believe he's going to be getting a Panzer tank. Yeah, no, or another assault gun. So the anti-tank tank, which honestly, for the price, they do pretty well against Sherman tanks. And he's got plenty of anti-infantry. These guys do have good rifles. They have the long-range KAR 98K rifles, which I have no idea what that actually is in real life. But nonetheless, they perform pretty well against infantry, I can tell you from experience. Top side, we're taking it over. Pathfinder stealing his fuel. Here we have a rifleman grabbing this point, and the Sherman tank is almost back up to full health. But now he does get another whirlwind, and you might wonder how he got the whirlwind as well as this out at the same time. The whirlwind is one of his battle group abilities. He can just kind of summon it in, so it doesn't need to build. He can just like instant do it as soon as he has the resources. So he's back in business, right? This build is very, very strong. Despite the nerfs that it got, I think Wehr is still a very, very strong faction. But, you know, most people in most games, whether you're playing StarCraft, if you were playing StarCraft, you know, and there was Terran mains, people who played Terran be like, oh, Terran are terrible. It's kind of a way of protecting your ego, right? You're just constantly like shitting on the faction that you main, so when you lose, you can just blame it on it, right? And I've noticed that really carried over to this game. Like, ever since the patch, you'll see, you know, you would see Axis players now saying, oh, we're the worst, you know, everything that beats us is overpowered. And yes, I'm not saying there aren't things in this game that are overtuned. I think, like, for example, Pathfinders might be a little bit overtuned. I think there's plenty of things that a lot of different factions have. It's very early on, and it's probably going to need a couple more lookovers before it really gets there. But, you know, most of the factions, honestly, like, I feel have a pretty good fighting chance. You know, when I'm playing Africa Corps, I feel like I have a good chance. The one faction I haven't dove into yet is going to be the Wehrmacht here, but yeah, all in due time. So he pushes up there, Stug Assault Tank and the Whirlwind Flak Panzer, dropping some shots on the old rifles here, and we do have our Pathfinder squads heading down to the south side. And here we do have the Sherman tank. Sherman tank's going to be moving up, and he does have those 2 anti-tank guns and a third one coming out. No, that's a flak emplacement. Now, on the subject of our discussion we were having before, like when you look at the hard data of things, like if, for example, if Relic were to give us like some good data, that would be a way to draw such conclusions, right? Rather than like anecdotes of you losing on ladder. But yeah, I think in the previous patch, the Axis was pretty strong. I think they had some pretty insane stats. So we get the Sherman tank. I try and flank his Flak Panzer, but I did not know that he had his assault gun up here as well. So my Sherman tank, a little bit isolated here. Thankfully, Shermans have really, really good armor, 195, so they are pretty good at armor bouncing here. And I decided to kind of sit and trade for a second, but realizing that he had engineers nearby, he was going to be able to repair. I figured this was a losing fight, so I was like, we need to flee the scene, we need to get out of here. And Homeboy reacts so quickly with his emplacements. He's got his anti-tank gun here, and they both cut me off, and they're going to be lining up here. He gets a nice shot, and my tank is going to be trying to get away, but he lines me up very, very well. And I took the most direct route back to the base, which was a big mistake. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, my opponent does get my Sherman tank down. Super well played. We sneak up, we drop smoke here, we steal the flak gun. So we finally get the flak gun from him. I was trying to take that the entire game. I was like, damn you. And we do get back now. So, hey, you know, here and there, but overall he won that, right? He took down a Sherman tank, his Flak Panzer survived, his Stug Assault Tank survived. I did ninja all his fuel during that though, so we got our little Pathfinders in the back, shift-click them down, and we were able to take all of his resources. But overall, man, this game is really, really getting quite heated here, so The points are going down. He currently is at 225. I'm at 347, so I have a little bit of a lead here. We also have the flak emplacement gun, which we're going to be setting up. So if any infantry try and get here, we will be giving him a taste of his own medicine. And here our M1 anti-tank gun, going to be taking root here right behind the objective and starting to rip shots into his assault gun here. And here it comes, 1, 2, and a 3, and it armor bounces. These things have great frontal armor. It's a 210, so I think the Sherman tanks have a little bit more than that, but not much. And these are like tanks that you can actually get rather quickly in my experience. So sticky grenade going down, and now his Whirlwind flak panzer, we'll just call it Whirlwind, is going to be moving up and putting some hurt on my infantry while my anti-tank guns and his own flak cannon continue to suppress him. The back points, still ninjaing around, still trolling with the Pathfinders, but he is slowly getting those points back. He does ninja my back point with some Fallschirmjäger Pioneer. Pathfinders on the way up to try and deal with them. And yeah, it's getting kind of dicey this game, man. Those flak panzers really mowing down my infantry, forcing me back, and he does these really aggressive airdrops, and I suppose I should have left the flak gun in place. But we do get the anti-tank gun, going to be ripping some shots here, but this is a very scary moment because these things cannot turn super fast, and he's able to get out of my kill box, and now he encircles me. And this is a huge game-changing play. He gets around the back of me. I'm trying to turn this anti-tank gun, but it has a setup time, and it doesn't shoot the shot, unfortunately. You see the gun isn't able to trace, so he just barely gets away, and if I could have killed that flak panzer, it would have been huge, but he really outplayed me there. He encircled me, he flanked me. It was a beautiful play from him. Sticky grenade going down right on top of the tank, but not too much, and he now starts to steal his guns back. So he steals my M1 anti-tank gun. I was like, we were just fighting over these little weapons platforms the entire game, which was so funny. Thankfully, on the top side, my rifle's here, able to push him back, and the Pathfinder's going to be resecuring points. Here are these rifles. Probably will get a full wipe on the Fallschirmjäger Pioneer, and we do get the full wipe right there, I think. Let's see if the shots can get it. Come on, boys. Get it. Come on, get them. And we do take down the squad. So we get a full squad down. Certainly feels good, and his damn tank is able to waddle away while we have another Sherman coming out soon. So the Sherman tanks will be back in numbers, certainly need them, and this thing has engine damage. So if I had something to follow up and get it, that'd be great, but unfortunately I don't. So his Whirlwind is back, and his Stug assault tank is going to be waddling back to his base. Of course, he can repair with all of these guys right here if he wants to, which I would wager he will do. And knowing that it's going to be a really close game, I'm like, okay, I got to just scrap for points. Like every chance I get, take advantage of my more mobile infantry-focused army and just grab whatever I can. He has all these really good emplacements, which take time to position. So if I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth, that's going to be my best bet. We also get a Sherman tank at the Infantry Support Center as far as upgrades go. I believe we get the survival training pretty soon, which is going to be buffing up our infantry. As far as other upgrades go, this reduces the manpower reinforced cost of all infantry by 25%. If the game's going super long and you can afford both of those, they're both very good. It's very similar to like volunteer infantry with the British. So there's going to be a big fight up here. I got rifles in position. I got rifles grabbing the objectives. My opponent is going to be coming up with his Stug assault tank, backed up by some engineer support. And now all of his emplacements are fully healed, so he pulled them back to the base. He has an anti-tank gun just kind of guarding to make sure I don't try and push him off here. And we are going to be having a big battle up here. Unfortunately, I positioned my Sherman pretty poorly. It's side is a little bit exposed. I was setting up some sandbags there. I do take a side hit, but we do correct it pretty quickly. Now the Sherman tank is going to be pulling back while we also get a sticky grenade to try and punish his vehicle here. And it does some okay damage. A little bit of crew shock, which is a temporary slow. The engine damage is really what you're looking for, but typically they need to be a little bit lower for that. So Flak Panzer is on the way up. A lot of infantry for him, so it looks like it's going to be mostly the Pioneers with the anti-tank guns getting ready to try and uproot me here. And yeah, we're just kind of taking a really defensive posture. I'm hiding a couple infantry in ambush here, waiting for him to kind of overextend, then I'm going to pounce him out. And in the meantime, we use our smoke again, just like I talked about in the early game, right? Getting that smoke, and if he did have like a machine gun here, I would be able to just steal this objective, and we get his flak emplacement here, so the flak emplacement is going to be in position and ready to go. So up on the top, my machine guns do decide to pull the trigger and flank. The Sherman tank is forced back. He got his emplacements up and was able to get a couple really nice hits on the old Sherman. And my rifles, in a bit of a pit fight, they'll do very well here, but I believe they're pretty heavily outnumbered. My opponent does have a flak panzer here, so I get a grenade, and we're going to be running in just a second. But boom, another squad wiped. Big grenade coming in there from the riflemen. But now the riflemen, they're going to have to run, because otherwise this flak panzer is going to give them the dirty. And my Sherman just barely escaped, man. It was very close. If I had lost that Sherman, that could have perhaps been a GG type situation. So now he's maneuvering his emplacements, just trying to see where I'm going with my armor. Up on the top, he does ninja the point. And yeah, he's got the 2 caps. Looking at the score, we are ahead, 334 to 155, so he's looking a little bit low on resources. Looks like one of my squads was fully wiped there. There was absolute chaos going down right now. I do get the repairs there, and it's getting messy, man. He's going to get the double cap. He's got these really nice position where he bounces, like, if you look at the minimap, he bounces like up this way and comes down here and here and just rotating. And I can tell you from experience, those emplacements, they take a ton of micro. Like, you got to be really good at positional play, and it's not an easy play style. It really isn't. So he's taking over the top side of the map. Thankfully, our little haggard fuel ninja in the beginning is denying him a ton of fuel right now, which is obviously one of the reasons why we probably haven't seen like Panzers or more elite vehicles. And let's see what upgrades he got. So he does have the support elements, and yeah, I would wager, I think he brings out a Panzer this game. I can't quite remember. This game was pretty wild. There was a lot going on. So he's taking over the map while I'm kind of licking my wounds here. I do get a second Sherman tank out. So Shermans are pretty good in numbers. When you get a couple of them rolling together, they can maneuver pretty well looking at their frontal armor comparatively. They actually have less frontal armor than the Stug assault gun. This thing actually, wow, I think is 210 armor, so really, really tanky. Repairs going down. Going to be sending the Sherman up. I know I don't have too much time to mess around. Here we get some Pathfinders trying to flank, but my opponent is able to intercept me, and the Pathfinders are going to be pulling back to cover. Now the Sherman going to be supporting the efforts on the top side of the map while he does move his Flak Panzer into the middle into a more dynamic position so he can flow either to the north or the south. And I actually decided to split up my tanks temporarily, try and see if I could catch his emplacements out of position, because if I have all my tanks in one spot, you know, his two anti-tank emplacements, which he moves together, and something I noticed, are going to be able to easily answer them. Whereas if they're separate, I can kind of bounce them back and forth and maybe flank and be a little bit more flexible in my play here. So anti-tank gun team, I don't even know what that is. I haven't seen that one before. So you live and you learn. Here we get our rifles retaking the ground. I know he's pretty low on points, so I just need to get as many as I possibly can here. Sherman tank going to be rolling up, putting some hurt on these units. So just blasting these pioneers as they get close and taking a little bit of a back position. But he immediately reacts, and you can see the two emplacements coming up. So the anti-tank emplacement's going to be starting to hurt the Sherman. But I do have MGs putting a little bit of suppressing fire on them, and I have my engineers back here as well. I anticipated there would be some hurt on my Sherman tank, so I figured, hey, let's pull back and get ready to heal it. Over here, my Sherman tank, it does have anti-tank mode on, so a little bit of a mistake on my part, but I do turn it off here at the end. But the Sherman tank did roll up, and at least I got the 50 cal. So you got to be careful. I often have this on when I'm getting ready to battle here. But I forgot he's playing Luftwaffe Battle Group, and he has the anti-tank loader. So that comes in, and thankfully it doesn't kill my tank, but it does a ton of damage. My tank's going to be forced back. The flak emplacement, I suppose I could have left it up to try and shoot it down, but I didn't want to risk it, because I figured he would be blitzkrieging the position afterwards. And the whirlwind comes in, his engineers come in, and on the top side it's getting a little bit messy, although my two rifles do swarm on top of his anti-tank guns, and the Sherman tank is able to get back, and I pull in the repairs, so we were able to get a big flank. The riflemen definitely doing the work. They've been hands down the MVPs this game, and we take down two tank emplacements, and in just a moment, my Sherman tank will be coming up to try and actually destroy these things. I figured, you know, let's just destroy the one ring. Let's not let them get back. But he ambushes me with the Stug tank. Did not see that coming. It kind of popped out. It was sitting up here, and now we're just going to be trying to circle it, take advantage of its slow turning speed. He does reman the gun, and he gets, I believe, one shot in the back. I'm not sure, but I also man the gun. So we get on there. My Sherman tank is here, and it is just an absolute pit fight right here. So we're scooting up. We got the anti-tank gun. We're moving it up. This is a big one. We need to keep the Sherman tank alive if we can. And it looks like the anti-tank gun is going to finish the job as the shot rains downtown. The Sherman lives. That was an extremely clutch moment. Now on this side, his air loiter, though, doing good work. He pushed me off the objective. He's going to be getting the double cap most likely, although it looks like he's kind of panic pushing up to the north. As my two Sherman tanks are up there, one Sherman tank is being repaired, as now we take his top objective here, so I figure he wants to make sure I don't get the triple cap on him. This Sherman tank's going to be rolling up as he does move up with his Flak Panzer, and I don't think he's defending the bottom. So now Airborne boys coming in, so I'm going to be dropping Airborne paratroopers. I just need bodies on the field, and I need them now. Thankfully, he tries to reman that tank emplacement, and I am able to get up with my Terminator here, the M1 Sherman. We push those bad boys back. As far as upgrades go, the survival training is done. So all my infantry are going to be quite a bit tankier now. Rifles do take the point. Airborne boys are on the way up, and Airborne are pretty good to drop late game. You have these satchel charges, which you can instantly like one-shot emplacements. It's very good. So the Sherman tank moves up, and I believe he's got his emplacements on the side, so he does have his LG-40 anti-tank gun. So he was drawing a line here, so I back up out of his line of sight, and I start to get repairs. We take this, and we are just holding on desperately. Because he has better map control. You can see he's got more stuff. His red influence kind of extends up the side. He's also penetrated up the middle. He's got a really good position here. So this was crunch time. Looks like he's going to be getting around the back here. So he actually flanks me with this anti-tank gun, which is pretty crazy. So I end up just pushing it further into his territory. I'm like, screw it. All right. So he's going to take that spot. Let's just move back into his territory and hope that his emplacements aren't going to be able to keep up. He's got two Flak Panzers. Flak Panzer's excellent at mowing down infantry. You'll notice in the later stages of this game, I start to take some heavy casualties as it pertains to my infantry. The Airborne boy is going to be pulling back, and we're also dropping in an anti-tank gun. So we drop in an anti-tank gun back here. The plane that's carrying it does unfortunately go down. Not that I don't think it actually carries any bearing. Maybe it makes it take longer to recharge. Who knows? But paratroopers and an anti-tank gun will be getting dropped in. The two Shermanators sitting in the back, and we're just trying to hold on to this objective while he sets up here. I have my anti-tank gun as well, which is got a pretty good line of sight on him. The Flak Panzer takes a huge shot, and just utilizing the buildings where I can to try and get around and avoid his positions, but he does slowly get this spot back here. On that same note, though, some riflemen did move down from my base. He moved up pretty heavily to win this fight up on the top, and I do get routed back, so now my Sherman's going to be fleeing, and I do get around the back of him here. And I was trying to get his whirlwind, but that's why I had the anti-tank mode on to make sure they would prioritize the shooting here, but ultimately we just kind of roll away there. and the Airborne boys are going to be forced into a very, very ugly retreat. But, you know, they're holding on. More Airborne here. I figured let's just leave him back here, have him guard the objective to the best of their abilities. He's Airborne, going to be trying to flee. Might be intercepted. He's got another flak emplacement coming out, but here he goes with a big chase. So he knew he was corralled here. I was hot in pursuit, so he just decides to go into my base and get as many casualties as we can. But one of the Flak Panzers is going to be going down 1,000% to the 2 Shermans. 2 Shermans do have anti-tank mode on. There they go, ripping big shots into the side of the Flak Panzer. And, you know, I can tell you from experience, there's a lot of catharsis with taking these things down. As they just, like, usually annihilate your infantry all game and are super hard to kill, they basically have the durability of a Panzer tank. Pretty close to it. I'll check the stats next time you build one. Let's see. So, yeah, their frontal armor, it's a little bit less. Yeah, it's 100. So it's not quite as much, but yeah, they're really, really durable. So on the top, I drop an anti-tank gun. I knew he had his Flak Panzers. And here we got the Airborne, the anti-tank gun going to be lining up here. So the timing was very fortuitous. And it's going to be ripping some shots in. But guys, the Airborne boy's going to be getting it done. Remember, they have the satchel charges. So he sits there thinking I don't have much. But he tries to move, but boom, the satchel charge goes and takes it down. Big explosion right there. That was a huge, huge win. And now the Sherman tank's going to be moving in from the sides, and we are going to go for a big blitz here. Now this is an intense fight. Guys, he is 7 tickets away from going here, so I'm like all in. I'm like, okay, I'm going to lose stuff here, but let's move in with our Sherman tanks. Let's get our rifles in and do as much damage as we possibly can. Let's try and end the game, but unfortunately he does get the capture here, and I totally forgot about the air loiter. The air loiter comes in, and both my tanks are going to be getting hit by the Luftwaffe air loiter, and that was super painful. So suddenly he's in a position, guys, where he can win the game. My Sherman tanks, one of them fleeing to the edge of the map. I do have this anti-tank gun. His Flak Panzer did go down as well, but that was super sketchy. And yeah, now we're in a very precarious situation. I have some Airborne boys coming in. That guy was flying really low. He like literally hit that house right there. And they were suppressed by the airstrike. But they're going to be coming up now. My anti-tank gun moving up, and I'm going to be trying to shoot his flak cannon right here. You can see they're trying to get line of sight, which is really haggard. But knowing that I'm in a bit of a desperate situation, I'm sending rifles to his back objective. I'm like, all right, guys, let's cap it. He's only got 4 tickets left. I just need to close this out. My army's very weak, but on that same note, now that I'm seeing this on a replay, so is his. This is like all he has. He doesn't really have a whole lot. He's got some emplacements. Both of us are in an extremely tattered shape, and you know, these American infantry are just going to have to be the heroes that Gotham needs. So moving to his back objective, which was being defended by some Falschmere Pioneer, they get absolutely dominated by these rifles. He does throw a grenade there, or I believe was that a satchel? I think that was a basic grenade, but we do dodge it, and now we're going to be running onto the objective as he does get his flak emplacement there, and more paratroopers on the way in. So paratroopers come equipped with medium range M1A1 carbine. So they're like good. They're good up close, good at range, just good utility unit. So we do move up here, and we are able to kind of push him back. And another satchel charge is going to be coming in to get rid of the flak. Satchel charges for the win, baby. Big explosion going down. Boom! Takes down the flak gun, which is going to be buying me a ton of time on this objective. And now the Airborne boy is going to be heading over here. I figured he might go for a back cap, but a lot of the guys in the base of his were super damaged from that Sherman fight. But man, oh man, that air loiter is just pure disgusting. It is so good. Paratroopers and engineers on the way up. They're going to be grabbing this point, knowing that he will probably get this one back eventually. But that's going to be it. Victory for the Airborne. GG, well played. That game was so intense. It was so intense. And yeah, sorry for the haggard UI, guys. It's just like, it's, yeah, we have this like really janky, like weird backdoor system for viewing replays. But taking a look at the units, obviously his Pioneers did really well. Well, I was about to say, obviously, the Falschmere did, but the Pioneers must have done better. I guess, why did it say 0 squads? Yeah, I guess they must have been the flamethrowers early, but yeah, that's not right. The way it's like analyzing this is just strange. These guys did a lot of damage. As far as his vehicles go, the Whirlwind, he only made 4 unit types. Yeah, I guess it was just 4 unit types and emplacements. Those Flak Panzers, pretty good. Now, looking over at my army, I don't think the data matters too much. I mean, Riflemen and Pathfinders are pretty much always your MVPs. They just do really good. The vehicles, you can see a decent spread on those, but yeah, it was a crazy good game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one, man. The game, like the ending of these games can be so intense. Like I thought I was dead. When he air loitered my 2 Shermans down, I thought I was just toast. But then I realized he was also very beat up. So my infantry were able to kind of push his back objective and get it. Anyways, GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We'll see you on the other side, ladies and gentlemen. And that is going to be it for tonight.